Hello, welcome back to Talking Europe on France 24. My guest today, a minister from a country that is one of the more recent members of the European Union and one that has been in the headlines a lot this year, often coming under fire from Brussels and its Prime Minister firing back. Katalin Novak is the Hungarian Minister for Family and Youth. She's also Vice President of the ruling Fidesz party. Katalin Novak, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for the invitation.
And I mentioned in my introduction that your country has been very much in the headlines this year and for the last couple of years in Europe, often because of contestations, arguments, divisions. Are you trying to correct or change the image of your country elsewhere in Europe?
Well, Hungary is a country in the heart of Europe. We are really in the middle of Europe. And I am an economist, so I learned that Hungary is a middle-sized, open economy, and it is true. So we are with thousands of links linked to the countries outside us. Not to forget that almost 5 million Hungarians live outside our borders, also in the surrounding countries. So for us to maintain a good relationship with the neighboring countries and also with the European countries is very important. And, if we are talking about family policy, but no matter which policy we are talking about, it is for us also very important to follow what is happening in the European ground or all over the world. And also, yes, just as you said, many times I would also be self-critical that maybe sometimes we didn't really clarify or put enough emphasis on clarifying our position on certain measures made. And I just see that no matter what happens in Hungary, I mean, the most internal issues also now are in the headlines. That's true.
Well, so certainly we'll come to a few of them during this interview. And just speaking about your particular dossier, family and youth, a consultation happening in Hungary right now, 8 million voters sent a sort of a questionnaire about family policy. Looking at the questions, though, from an outside point of view, some of the questions do seem to be quite leading. Do you approve correction of demographic decline by support for families rather than via immigration? And another one, do you agree with the fundamental principle that a child should have a mother and a father? What is the idea of this? Is it about finding out what Hungarians think, or is it reinforcing the government line?
We have been in a governmental position now for over 8 years. So we won the elections 3 times with a 2/3 majority. So I could also say that we don't even need these kind of consultations because we have the support of the Hungarian people. That's true. We had the elections in May. But still, we consider it important at the beginning of a new term that we ask the Hungarian people what they think about certain issues regarding the Hungarian family policy. And you just stated 2 questions, but there are 9 other questions. And they are quite specific ones on the orientation of the family policies. If they want to support, for example, the young people when they start their lives and they would like to have a family, if they need a more important financial support at the beginning of their life as adults, let's say, that is also one of the questions. And we also put the means, so what we consider important. But to the question what you actually mentioned, is it illegal migration or the protection and
because one might say that that's not a real strict choice, is it? It's a bit of a false dichotomy. Do you want illegal immigration or do you want us to have more children? I mean, that's a bit simplistic, isn't it?
I mean, if everybody says yes to this question in Hungary, I mean that yes, we want strong families. I'm the happiest with that, because I don't see that we are raising this question on a European level. I think exactly the problem is that if you see that there is not a single European country where the fertility rate would even reach 2. So there is not a simple European country where there are enough children being born to maintain even the population. And still, I think for me the question is, why don't European young people have children?
It certainly is the issue in many European countries. As I mentioned in the introduction, one of the big headlines for Hungary was when Viktor Orban, your Prime Minister, came to the European Parliament and was faced with accusations that there are degradations of rule of law and basic rights in Hungary. There was a vote in favour of launching what are known as Article 7 proceedings that would sanction the government and could end up with Hungary losing voting rights in the European Council. Mr. Orban has not toned down his rhetoric since this happened. In fact, there have been public information campaigns by Mr. Orban attacking the MEP who brought the proceedings, Judith Sargentini. Your government seems very confident that it's not going to be punished or sanctioned in the end?
Because we know the legal procedure. Actually, there is no such an outcome which you mentioned. If you study the legal procedure, I mean, according to the treaties which are now in force, there is no such an outcome. There is something which terra incognita, so that's something that hasn't happened before.
So you think it's an empty threat?
I just think that about Sargentini, about the report, I mean, that is full of lies, and that is full of, I mean, I know what it is. I read it, I know, and also the answers. We actually have an over 100-page answer detailed to each and every question.
Well, why then do you think it got the support of a majority of the people in the European Parliament? I know there's a quibble about whether abstentions should be taken into account or not, but on the European Parliament's rules, it was a majority of the MEPs who backed this report. If it's so problematic as you say, why do you think that is?
I talked to many MEPs, and they also said that, of course, they didn't even read the reports. They are also, of course, influenced by, for example, by the media, but by many misleading information. There are issues in which there are also legal procedures going on in the European Commission, which is the fact with the other European member states as well. So I think what we should do is that to wait for the outcome of legal procedures and then have the final say.
Well, looking at a related and recent news item, there's been the move by the international part of the Central European University from Budapest to Vienna. This is the American institution founded by Hungarian-American billionaire George Soros. Teaches in English, has a very strong academic reputation in your region. There was a legal dispute that hasn't found a conclusion, so the university is moving to Austria. There's anger from students, professors, and some European politicians. We've got a report by Luke Brown from our team. We'll come back and discuss the situation afterwards.
Another blow against academic freedom in Hungary. The Central European University of Budapest announcing it's been forced out of Hungary and will move most of its classes to Vienna. For the CEU president, Michael Ignatieff, they were left with little choice.
We have a university that we want to move to a country, Austria, where the rule of law and respect for free institutions still means something.
The closure of CEU is the result of tighter restrictions on international universities. The CEU says the government has deliberately dragged its heels, refusing to validate the university's bid to comply with the new rules. The Hungarian authorities have dismissed that as a political bluff. For the university, it's the hounding of an academic institution and says it has no place in an EU member state.
Does it benefit Budapest to chase an institution out of the country? Does it benefit Hungary? Does it benefit Hungarian higher education and science?
A line has been crossed. In the case of CEU, people are being forced out of the country. So this is not restriction anymore, this is repression.
CEU is in the Hungarian government's crosshairs due to its links with George Soros, the Hungarian-born billionaire. Soros himself was a target during Viktor Orban's election campaign this year as the Prime Minister railed against supposed foreign interference that promoted immigration to Hungary. A so-called Stop Soros law forced the philanthropist's Open Society foundations to quit the country in the summer. For the CEU's students, the campaign against the university bodes ill for the future of Hungary.
Hungary is facing serious issues of brain drain already as it is. You know, a lot of the youth have, little reason to stay in this country in terms of economy, in terms of opportunities and prospects. And I think this is just further damage to the potential future of Hungary.
The clampdown has sparked protests in support of academic freedom and European values in Hungary over the past year. But for now, Viktor Orban has shown little sign of slowing his campaign against critical voices in Hungary.
Katalin Novak, as Minister for Families and Youth, the issue of education must come into your thinking quite a lot. We heard a professor there saying that the colleagues are being forced out of the country. Why can't the Central European University remain in Budapest entirely? Isn't this a loss for your country?
I have to clarify that there are two universities in Hungary. One is they have the same name, and that already shows that it was quite a interesting legal situation in which they actually operated in Hungary. And they have the same name in Hungarian and in English, but under the same name, there are two universities, two legal authorities, I would say.
This is a university that followed Hungarian law. It reconformed itself to new law changes in Hungary.
Actually, that is a question if they operate concerning or respecting the Hungarian laws or not.
Did you see it as is it a threat to your government, and why?
No, that's not about threats. That's not. I don't even understand the question, because there are legal there are legal frameworks according to which universities also have to operate, and if you operate in line, I mean, if a university operates in line with these legal frameworks or these laws, then it is, of course, authorized to operate. If then it isn't. That's like in each and every country, it is like that.
Well, in that case, considering it had this strong reputation, obviously brought many international students, I'm sure lots of money into Budapest, do you see a situation where the CEU could return its international arm?
We never force them to move. I mean, that is their private decision. Okay. That is how they decide. I don't know if they will do it or not. It is also like, putting some force on us, of course. I mean, that's only a communication at that moment. We don't know what is going to happen. I would just to say that each and every country which respects the Hungarian laws, of course, can freely operate in Hungary according to our laws, which is the fact in actually each country. And there is no threat of educational freedom or whatsoever in Hungary. I would very much deny that.
We need to come back, I think, to the fact that, of course, this institution was founded and set up by George Soros, as I mentioned, someone who's been a target for criticism by your Prime Minister Viktor Orban for a very long time. Just looking at George Soros, there's been the so-called Stop Soros law. Why has this man become such a threat to your administration, such a target?
It's not the administration, it's the Hungarian people. Because he's...
well, through the mouthpiece of the Prime Minister Viktor Orban. He's a very powerful voice, of course, as the Prime Minister.
Yes, but the Hungarian people have a very clear position about illegal migration. And they say they don't want this illegal migration. They want this illegal migration flow to be stopped.
Can you explain for our viewers the link between George Soros and illegal migration?
Yes, by each and every means possible, he tries to promote migration towards Europe, and he has got ideas, which I mean, of course, everybody has his or her ideas. That's fine, but he uses all possible means to influence election campaigns, to influence politics, to really have without any legitimacy, and that's the problem. Without any legitimacy, to get involved and influence the inner politics of given countries. That is also the fact in Hungary, and he's trying to promote with each and every possible mean migration, and that's his idea that migration is a good thing, and that's what he states all over. It's fine, but we don't let him to do this if he does not respect the laws, and if he's trying to manipulate and if he's trying to get involved in the Hungarian politics without having any political legitimacy for that. He's also free to found a party. He's also free to run for elections. He could also run for being the Prime Minister of Hungary.
George Soros has,
and we'll see if he's elected or not.
George Soros and his foundations do deny these accusations that he's trying to manipulate Hungary, bring migrants into the country illegally, all of these sorts of things. There's another issue that's come up this week. What's seen as a clampdown on media freedom in Hungary. There's the merger of 476 pro-government media organisations into one consortium that Mr. Orban has greenlit in the last few days. There's criticism that this will give him complete control of Hungary's media. Opposition voices will be shut out. The opposite, really, of media freedom that's inscribed in the common European rights that European states agreed to.
I'm sure you don't speak Hungarian, do you?
I don't speak Hungarian.
Because if you spoke Hungarian, then you could read the Hungarian media, you could read the Hungarian internet sites.
I've spoken to Hungarians who themselves say there are no more independent media in our country. This is something that worries us. We do not feel that opposition voices are being given credence. I've been to Hungary this year and spoken to Hungarians.
Okay, that's not true. I mean, there is just now there has been a survey, for example, published I think this week or beginning of this week or last week, which is exactly showing the picture about the position of media, let's say, and it shows that actually the bigger proportion of medias is still a left liberal media, shows a very critical position about the Hungarian government. The most important and the biggest daily, the biggest TV channel, also the biggest internet site. They are all very, very critical. So
why does this reorganisation need to happen? It does matter who the owners of media organisations are, who's financing media organisations. Readers and viewers are interested in knowing those things. Why does this reorganisation need to happen?
I don't know if anybody even knows the background of this television, for example, how it is set up. I mean, if anybody has any idea about it, people, I know. More or less, not very detailed, I wouldn't say. But I also know how many European TV channels or media are managed. And that's actually, this is like a model which operates already in many countries. And I mean, if there is any doubt about its legality or whatsoever, I don't really know what it is about.
So you're prepared to say media freedom is assured in Hungary as far as you're concerned?
Of course it is assured. I mean, I wouldn't even understand anybody saying the opposite, and I hope it is, and it will remain assured in each and every European country.
Okay, unfortunately, we will have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Katalin Novak, for being our guest. Thank you for watching Talking Europe. We'll see you again soon for another episode here on France 24.
Sur France 24, la nuit, on est très fiers d'accompagner les Amériques dans leurs soirées, de voir l'Asie se réveiller, et on est là jusqu'à ce que Paris s'éveille.
France 24 es más que solo noticias. Es libertad, igualdad y actualidad. Nosotros damos un paso más allá, con información al momento para analizar, comprender, poner en perspectiva y debatir.
Sur France 24, l'Afrique c'est chic.
In Live from Paris, our correspondents around the world keep you up to date.
Vous êtes déjà plusieurs millions et de plus en plus nombreux à suivre France 24 sur les réseaux sociaux.
من الطبيعي أن يكون شعارها الحرية وخاصة حرية التعبير في بلد حرية التعبير.